Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union. We are focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship, and we bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. And we interview the top business leaders and nonprofit leaders in the industry. Helping provide us with business empowerment today is a leader in the nonprofit sector, and he does a very cool job. He's a great advocate for children. Welcome, Big D, Vice President and Public Relations Officer for Bikers Against Child Abuse, the Long Island chapter. Big D, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ray.
I think the mission that you have is so impactful. Why don't you just share what is BACA and what is the mission?
Sure. Bikers Against Child Abuse. Actually, we got started in 1995, 28 years ago, by a clinical play therapist that was also a social worker. But he also happened to be a biker. So while treating these children, he knew everybody was doing the right thing by these children. Everything was progressing nicely. But the thing they were missing was they couldn't be guarded 24/7. Being a psychologist of sorts, I know in Psych 101, there is Maslow's hierarchy, which is a chart showing what people need in order to live. The bottom of the chart says food, air, water, which is the basics. Right. Immediately above that is safety and security. And that's what this guy set out to provide to these children. So we got a bunch of his biker friends together. They started going to the kids' houses on off hours from being treated. And he got such a favorable response. Fast forward to today, we're in 18 countries, 46 states, and there's thousands of members.
Now, how did you personally become involved with BACA?
Well, my wife and I have been bikers our whole lives, and we reached a stage of our lives where we wanted to give back. I mean, it's always nice to write checks to the American Heart or American Cancer Society, which is wonderful. But this was a big-time commitment. Because when we take these children into our organization to increase their confidence and their strength so that they get some kind of semblance of their life back, we have to, dedicate a lot of time to it.
Yeah.
So this was a big-time commitment. So we were in a stage of our lives with whatever was going on in her job and mine, we were able to do this on a regular basis. So hours a day, we're usually always doing something for the organization. And if I may, I just want to say what we normally do. With the kids, we work in conjunction with a lot of the agencies on Long Island, a lot of psychologists also, schools. And as long as the issue is reported to someone, we are allowed to go in and start helping these children. The criteria is the child has to be living in fear, they cannot be living with the perpetrator, and it has to be reported somewhere. And as long as those three elements are there, we could take the child in. So these agencies will call us and they'll say, we have a child that we think you can help. We take them in. We actually give them their own cut, like I'm wearing a motorcycle jacket.
Yeah.
We let them pick their own road name. And for as simplistic as that sounds, them picking their own road name is very empowering for them because these kids are living in a nightmare of their lives. And they're always told what to do and how to do it. But when we come in, we tell them, you're the boss. Okay, we're going to do whatever you want to do within reason. But you have to understand whatever you like to do, whatever you like to play with, we're going to join in. So we take them into our organization. We actually show up to their home with a bunch of motorcycles, which is a spectacle in itself, and it's empowering to a child. Because, when you hear one motorcycle off in the distance, it registers in your mind because of how loud it is. Imagine 20 of them showing up on your front lawn. We start playing with the kid. We form a semicircle around the child. We present them with a teddy bear that we all sign the T-shirt of. We sign the inside of their cut to signify we always have their back. We give them a nightlight that shines on the ceiling with our logo that looks like the Batman insignia.
Wow.
And they're assigned two primaries to be the first line of communication for them. If they're having a good day or a bad day, they get to call them anytime they want. I have this one child that I've been dealing with for years. He's just a wonderful person. He's about 15 years old now. When we first met up with him, I told him, listen, you're the boss. We're going to do whatever you want within reason, like I said. But just know that we're here for you and we're always going to be here for you. We'll come back next week. We'll size up your cut. You'll tell us what your road name is. We go to his house the next week. So what's your name? He goes, the boss. Okay, so we put the boss on his tag. So anytime he calls me now, I say, look who it is. It's the boss, And he just responds very well, and he's doing terrific in his own life. And the other point I wanted to make was once we make these children BACA members, all right, we tell them once a BACA child, always a BACA member. You'll always have us there in your lives no matter what, because these kids will age out at the age of 18. But we still stay in touch with them and let them know that we're going to be there for them. And it's meant so much to a lot of these children that a lot of the BACA children are now BACA members because we've been around for so many years now, 28 years. So it's nice to meet these people. They always come up to everyone and say, you guys helped save my life. Wow. And that's why I have this vested interest in doing what I need to do here and give back with BACA. The other thing we do for the families and the kids, we do a level 2. Indoctrination into the organization is called a level 1 when we first take the child in. But the level 2 is we'll protect the house 24/7. If a perpetrator is on the loose and the cops have yet to apprehend him, we will actually guard the house 24/7.
Wow.
And none of these services cost anybody a dime. It's all on us. We incur all of our own expenses. The last big level 2 we had was in Staten Island. We always advertise one BACA, which means if we have a level 2 going on and it's 24/7, everybody works, and we got to guard the house so other surrounding chapters will help in. So we helped out with Staten Island. We guarded this one house for the better part of a week. And they actually ended up apprehending the perpetrator just blocks away from the house. So he knew we were there. He knew what we were doing. But because of our presence, he chose to stay away. So that's another thing we do for the kids, too. And I just want to make it clear, as far as people's perception of us, we are not vigilantes. We are not violent people. We do use our biker appearance for 2 reasons. One, so that the child feels confident in knowing how we will protect that child if they need to be protected. And the other is maybe if the perpetrator is thinking about doing something they should not, they may think twice about it because we will protect the child under any circumstances. But the misconception is we get people at different awareness events coming up to us inevitably and saying, listen, I know what you guys say, but I know what you're really all about. I want you to come to my house. I want you to beat up my husband because he blah, 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 blah. And we go, listen.
Oh, wow.
This is not what we are all about. You could imagine today, everybody's got cameras. All buildings have cameras. There's cameras everywhere. If we ever put our hands on any of these people, that would be the end of BACA.
Right.
So even when we're in court, we'll also go to court with these children, like I'm going to be doing today. Mm-hmm. One of my kids that I'm a primary to is going to be going to family court for a custody battle, so I'm going to be there with her, along with a couple other members to give her support. We actually give them a BACA coin to hold on to when they're in court, and we tell them this is your physical connection to us. Look at us, look in our eyes, draw the strength and confidence from us. Do not look at the perpetrator, and you'll be able to say whatever you need to say. So the court thing is a big deal for us. We know a couple of the judges in the different family courts that we stay in touch with. And another big point is we also stay in communication with all the police at all times. So if we're doing a level 1 and people see 20 bikers on someone's front lawn, they're going to say, there's a biker gang on my neighbor's front lawn. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So the cops know where we're going to be, and they could tell them this is BACA. You don't have anything to worry about. When we do the level 2s and we're out on the street 24/7, the police, more times than not, will increase their times that they go by the house to check it out. We just give a nod of the head, and they know what we're there for. Also, when we do have level 2s, let me just go back with that for 1 second. Everything we do, because we've been around for so long, has a procedure to it. Okay? So at this last level 2 that we did, one person is assigned the task of taking out their phone and videotaping everything that's going on if the perpetrator shows up. Another one is assigned to just call 911, and someone else is there to be the obstacle. With the particular one that we did in Staten Island, I was the obstacle. And I also have a speech ready in case the perpetrator shows up. And I tell them, you're already violating an order of protection, so you're already breaking the law. The police have already been notified, which will be here in minutes, and you're also being taped. But if you put your hands on me, I'm going to be forced to protect myself. And if I can't stop you, I have plenty of other brothers and sisters around me that'll help me stop you.
Wow.
And like I said, that, we try to avoid any kind of confrontation like that at all costs. But that's what we're set to do. We're not there to hurt anybody. Again, our bottom line is we will be that obstacle before anybody gets to that kid. And basically that's what we do as far as the level 1s and the level 2s are concerned. And we go on a regular visitation with the child, with the primaries. They're assigned 2 primaries. Like I said, that'll be their first line of communication. We form a system called 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. We'll visit them on weeks 2, 4, 6, 8, then week 12, then on an as-needed basis. And the primaries, like I said, are the ones that really stay in constant communication with the child. The proof that we have, if I could get into that we do work. For many years we went on word of mouth. BACA does work. I see improvement in my kids, blah, blah, blah. In 2017, a study was done, a 4-year study by professionals in the field of child abuse, doctors. And at the end, they concluded that BACA children experience statistically significant improvements in behavioral and emotional categories, much more so than other children that are not exposed to us. So we took all of that information to the agencies that we deal with, and as a result, we partnered up with a lot of the agencies on Long Island that deal with abused children. And that's the key to our success now that we have that legitimate study, which can be found on our website at www.bacaworld.org. The 32-page study is there in its entirety.
Wow.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever, but I'm sure to the educated person that knows these things, it makes perfect sense. I'm sure there's disclaimers in there of whatever they need to disclaim, but for the most part, that was the very favorable result of that study, which we're very proud of.
You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Denise Boston Hill, and our guest today is Big D, Vice President and Public Relations Officer of Bikers Against Child Abuse, the Long Island chapter. So I'd like to talk to you, Big D, about some of the organizations you mentioned. You partner with a lot of organizations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. One of the first ones we partnered up with was the Safe Center in Bethpage. Mm-hmm. They're a tremendous outfit. We also deal with ECLI Vibes. They're in Islandia. We deal with the Awixa House. They're state homes. They have state children living in their homes that we tend to. We also deal with the Suffolk County CPS people. So Child Protective Services, which we just started dealing with maybe a year or two ago, started giving us their children also to start helping out. But, our credentials now locally got beefed up in recent years because, we actually had this study that was done, and these professional people that are in these corporations just can't go on word of mouth, Right. So it was very good to have this study out there that opened their eyes as far as, what we can do. And all it was they gave us a chance with their children, and they got nothing but positive reports back, And the biggest gratifying thing that we go through is we recently went to an awareness event at one of the Harley dealerships. They were celebrating one of their anniversaries. They allowed us to set up an awareness tent. Well, we invited a lot of our kids there because they were giving out all free food to everybody that attended.
Oh, wow.
It was real nice. And the overwhelming thing was seeing these children get out of their cars. Again, you got to remember, these kids are living in a nightmare of their lives, okay? Things have been very tough for them. They've been set up to lose before they even get started. They get out of their cars. They run to their primaries. Big hugs and kisses. I mean, it was just overwhelming to watch all of these kids running up to all of their primaries and seeing the reaction they get. All smiles. Their personality just flips 180 degrees, So we know we're having an impact on these children just by the way they react to us. The way I like to put it is we try to be that favorite aunt and uncle. That favorite aunt and uncle some people can relate to, that maybe they wouldn't talk to their parents about certain things,
right?
But they'll talk to that favorite aunt and uncle. We try to be that. We're not psychologists. We're not psychiatrists. We're not anybody like that. We're not big brothers or big sisters. we tell everyone we just show up for these kids to try to do the right thing for them, which will instill confidence and strengthen them. And like I was saying to you before, if, at that time when a child may be at the end of their rope, okay, they know that they have that one phone call they could make to someone they always trusted, and that will be us. And no matter where these children move, we're in so many states and in so many countries, we tell them, whoever's wearing this back patch, you could trust them the way you trust your primaries. I know when I grew up in Nassau County, my brother and I were very small, and long before it was popular in Italian mafia movies, the expression, he's one of us, meant something, okay? And I remember being a kid growing up, and every blue moon, some guy would show up, and my father would take me and my brother over and say, you see this guy? Shake his hand. He's one of us. That meant if this guy showed up in his car, screeched the tires, threw open the door and said, get in, you got in that car, you didn't ask any questions because you trusted him the way you trusted your father, okay? Yeah. That's what we try to instill in these children. And I always try to give that speech to the kids when we have their level 1. You are now one of us, okay? And I always like to lean into the kids during the level 1s, too, when there's a lull in the action. And I go, let me ask you a question. You have anybody that looks like us? You have any friends that look like us? And they'll always look up at their big eyes and go, no. And then I lean into them and I go, well, you do now. Wow. And this big smile comes over their face because this realization sinks in that these are now all my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And they're going to be there for me whenever I need them to be there for me. And that's what we try to instill in the kids. And that in itself helps expedite the healing of the child. We always tell everybody, we don't have a magic wand. It's the real world. We understand that not everything works out 100% of the time. But we try to be that one extra added positive component that these agencies or doctors use in order to expedite the healing of these children. That's what we are all about. Our job is very simple. We just show up for these kids.
Yeah, and that is something that there's no other agency that does that, not the way that you guys do.
No.
So it is so necessary and just amazing what you do. Now, I'm sure that there are, you mentioned it doesn't always work out, unfortunately. What are some of the challenges that BACA faces?
Well, it's frustrating from time to time to see these children, what they're going through, like this one child I'm going to court for today. Mm-hmm. It's just an ongoing process, dragging out very bad problems. Just to let you know, we do see a lot of ugly things that go on. As a result, over the years, a lot of professional people have donated their time to us to treat us. There's a lot of de-stressing that goes on in our organization.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because of what we deal with day in and day out, the way all of these counselors deal with all of these children. So they need to talk to someone also. So these people make themselves available anytime for all of us whenever we need it. So we have that going for us.
Yeah, that's, I think, extremely important because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, the things that you see. And you are such a gentleman and so nice. And, how do you balance that? But I guess that's the thing. You have somebody who's supporting you.
We do. And, with all of our brothers and sisters within the organization, we've all seen it all just about right now. Yeah. So there's always someone we could talk to and go to. But you know what? When I've been in business for many years, so you kind of you learn how to put these things over there,
yes,
and these things over here. And as long as you could go through life like that in this organization, you'll maintain your sanity and you'll be able to function for these children. And that's basically what we do. I
got to imagine one of the other challenges is, so I know when I first saw BACA at an event, I was actually at the Safe Center. I saw you guys. Honestly, it was a little intimidating. I'm going, all right, well, I want to learn more about them. And then when I approached you guys, everyone was so nice and so welcoming and so cool. And, is that something that you find is difficult sometimes? To kind of get past sometimes with folks who may want to get involved?
When we first started doing awareness events, and like I said, I've been in business a long time, so I like to, communicate with people face to face.
Yeah.
So we'd set up a tent, and we actually would see mothers taking their children as they're walking down the street and go on the other side of the street from our tent. So I said, it's not good enough to just have our banner up, Bikers Against Child Abuse. So why don't we put up a banner that goes all the way around the tent that says, help us to help abused children. The next thing you know, the very next event we went to, after we put this big sign up all the way around the tent, people started coming up to our booth and asking us questions. All of a sudden, we were approachable.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, we tell everybody that we had major success with that. But just sitting around, sitting on our bikes, laughing or whatever, you know, they'll equate us to what the stereotypical biker is in their mind. And we understand that. Again, we do use that intimidating factor for the reasons that I told you.
Absolutely.
But we are probably the exact opposite of doing that with our children, you know. We just like all of our kids to know that we're always going to be there for them, and our appearance helps that. If the kids, we had one child that was actually being abused by a student in a school, and we drove her to school, a bunch of us. Wow. That was the last day that she ever had any problems with anybody else in school. You know, they kind of use that. We use that as a joke for the kids too. Now you have some juice, you know, because now they know who you're connected to, you know, and we try to make sure that the kids don't use that, take it out of hand. We just let them know, you know, the walk quiet and carry a big stick. I think that was one of those famous movies, you know.
Yes.
We tell everybody just mind your own business and just do the right thing for everybody, the same as we're trying to do. You want to model yourself after what we are all about, and that's what we're trying to convey to you so that you will be able to do that for yourself. That's the best way to go through life.
Now, how does somebody become involved with BACA? Because I imagine, you know, the work that you do, as amazing as it is, it takes a lot of training. You know, you mentioned the coordination, you know, when you're protecting a house and how that works and all that. So, but how does somebody kind of start to become involved? Yeah,
they come to our meetings. We have a meeting the second Sunday of the month at the Bohemia American Legion Hall on Hubble Street. And they come into 3 consecutive meetings in a row. And if it looks like you're the type of person that could cut it with us, we take your fingerprints. We send them through the NCIC, same as the federal government does. And as long as there's nothing in there that's connected to domestic violence, chances are you're going to get in. Once the fingerprints get approved by everyone, then you go through at least a year of training. We have training on a computer that you go through. They're all live classes right now. And each quarter, a sponsor that's assigned to you will sit down with you alone and review everything that you learned for that quarter to make sure you understand exactly what's going on. And you will learn this throughout the entire year. At the end of that year, once you took all of your classes and everything looks good, the chapter has to vote on you getting in. And if you're lucky enough to get in, you get voted in, you get a patch. And that's when you are allowed to become a primary to a child. And that is the reason why we become members, to become a primary to a child. But you have to go through that. It's not even an initiation. It really is an education,
right,
as far as what you need to do and what you need to know in order to associate with these kids. Like I told you, we're not psychologists or anything like that. If we hear the child say something to us that we're pretty sure she hasn't told her counselor or her parent or whatever, we will respond by saying, you know, that sounds like something that would be good to talk to your counselor about, or would be good to mention to grandma. And what we'll do is we will talk to grandma or the mom or the father, whoever is involved, and the counselor, and we'll tell them what she had told us or what he had told us. And it's up to them to determine whether or not it's something worth pursuing.
Right.
But that is as far as we go as far as treating the child on their end. We just report what we feel as though would be necessary to start, you know, helping with their healing.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. Now, you support so many people. Who supports BACA? How do you keep in your operation? Because I mean, obviously, there's costs involved to what you do.
Sure.
How do people support you?
3 times a year we have a fundraiser. Each chapter does, and we try to raise enough money to pay for all the things that we go through. Because, like I said, we give the kids backpacks, teddy bears, T-shirts, coins, a lot of different tchotchkes. So, and big blankets too, big BACA blankets. They're beautiful. All of this stuff costs money. So we try to have these fundraisers. We were lucky enough this year that a psychologist said, you know what, I want to have a fundraiser for you guys. Next thing you know, She does manage to have the fundraiser, which was just a couple of weeks ago, and she raised more money than we ever took in before.
Oh, wow.
So this was her own doing. She chose to do it. She just loved what we were doing. This one particular person knocks me out every time I see her. She said to me the other day, you know what? Your kids that are on waiting lists, or maybe they timed out from an agency, if you think they still need help, send them to me. I'll treat them for free. So every now and then we run into an angel from heaven, that looks at us for what we are trying to do. And they really, it's just a miracle what this one lady has done for us recently. I just had dinner with her a few weeks ago, and she says, you see this fundraiser I'm giving you? I'm going to make it annual. We're going to do it every year.
Nice.
I just can't say thank you enough to her. It's just one of those things. So we have been very, very lucky. In all the years this chapter has been on Long Island, no one has ever done anything like that for us before. So that's a huge thing. What we're trying to do now, we got a lot of people involved in the state that are trying to get grants from companies that give grants. All of these big major corporations have to give X amount of dollars away every year.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get on those lists too, because we've had so much success. We have so much proof about what we do and our effectiveness. Now we want to bring that to the bigger companies to see if we could spread the wealth throughout, the entire country as far as these grants are concerned. So we're pursuing that now too. But we just make enough money in order to squeak by usually, and if it means giving a kid karate classes that they weren't, to increase their confidence, we pay for those. Before we got this offer from this one psychologist, if they timed out the kids or if they were still on waiting list, we'd have another doctor see them of their choice, and we would pay for their sessions also. So that's where all of this money goes. All of this money we take in goes to the kids, every penny.
And that's the way it should be. So as we wrap up, where can we find out information about BACA?
Sure. We have a helpline that I'll give you the number. It's actually on our pamphlet, and it's actually on our website. Our helpline is 631-408-8218. But anybody listening can go to www.bacaworld.org. They could find where it says chapters. You click on chapters, you find New York, find Long Island, and as soon as you click on Long Island, all of our names are there. My name is Big D. I'm Vice President of Public Relations. You click on my name, you could send something directly to me in my email.
Excellent.
So anytime you need to do that, that's fine. If you call this helpline, it actually goes to my wife, who is the child liaison for the chapter, and she is the first line of communication with all of the guardians and the agencies to talk about what we're doing with any particular child.
Well, Big D, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you
Pleasure.
so much for the work that you do.
Pleasure.
You are amazing, and so honored to have you here on the show. So we want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tara Talk Business Radio, powered by the voice of National Community College, 90.3 WHPC.